Data sufficiency, question 242. The number of seats in the first row of an auditorium is 18, and the number of seats in each row thereafter is 2 more than in the previous row. What is the total number of seats in the rows of the auditorium? Now, since we are dealing with a word problem, let us first break down the question stem. In the first row, we have a total of 18 seats. In the second row, we're going to have 2 more seats than in the first row, so 18 plus 2 gives us 20. In the third row, we're going to have 2 more seats than in the second row, so 20 plus 2 gives us 22. So if we need to find out the total number of seats in the auditorium, it is sufficient that we find out the total number of rows of seats in the auditorium. So evaluating the first statement individually, the first statement says that the number of rows in the auditorium is 27. Now, since we have the first row to have 18 seats and we have the number of rows to be 27, we can definitely find out the total number of seats in the auditorium. So the first statement is sufficient and the 2 possible answer choices are A, D. The second statement tells us that the number of seats in the last row is 70. Now, if the number of seats in the first row is 18, in the second row is 20, and if we've been told that the last row is going to have 70 seats, we can definitely continue the sequence and find out how many rows we are dealing with. So the second statement also gives us information of the number of rows of seats in the auditorium. So the second statement is also individually sufficient, and the answer here is delta. Another approach of solving this question is to use the concept of an arithmetic progression. Now here the first row contains a total of 18 seats. The second row consists a total of 20 seats, 2 more than the first row. The third row consists a total of 22 seats, 2 more than the second row. So 18, 20, 22 and so on represents an arithmetic progression with common difference 2. In an arithmetic progression, the sum to n terms is given by the formula n by 2 into 2a plus n minus 1 into d, where n represents the number of terms, a represents the first term, in this case, which is 18, and d represents the common difference, in this case, which is 2. Now here, we need to find out the value of s of n. So to find out the value of s of n, we need the value of n. If we find out the number of rows, we can definitely find out the total number of seats. So the first statement tells us the number of rows of seats in the auditorium is 27. So we have n is equal to 27. We already have a to be 18. We already have d to be 2. So we can definitely find out the value of Sn. So the first statement is sufficient and the 2 possible answer choices are AD. The second statement tells us that the number of seats in the last row is 70. So again, if the number of seats in the last row is 70, we can definitely find out the number of rows, which is n. We already have the information about the first term, which is 18, and the common difference, which is 2. So the second statement is also individually sufficient. So the answer is D.